Welcome to another session with Professor Stephen ADEI. Last week, I launched my Millionaires Club and also introduced a new series which I titled Wealth Creation for Almost Everyone. Wealth Creation for Almost Everyone. And my singular objective is to convince the ordinary Ghanaian that you don't have to be a politician, a corrupt person, or have connections in order to make it. Anyway, as a nation, we cannot continue redistributing our poverty. And I'm trusting that before we finish this series, we would have moved into a year whereby the ordinary worker is aiming to become a millionaire without corruption. I will therefore be sharing sustainable principles of wealth creation. Not so much about the business people, in other words, that will require a different series, but we are talking about the ordinary worker, small-scale operator, a farmer, a mechanic, because with time, consistency of savings and investment, and allowing time for the principle of compound interest to work for you, the ordinary Ghanaian can become a millionaire. While I started this, I've come across two people to my delight. I met at a funeral 2 weeks ago, some middle-aged in their 40s, who said, "Thank you, Prof. I've never met you. But early in your days at Gimpa, I heard you talk about saving and investing consistently to become a millionaire. And I want to thank you and assure you that at this moment, I have more than 1 million cedis to my credit at EPAC. It means Data Bank First Mutual Fund, EPAC. Interestingly, when I went to my village, I met a progressive public sector elementary school teacher. And he says, and I was talking about the need to create wealth. And this man told me, he has 1 year to retire, that he listened to the teachers' leadership asking them to contribute to the provident fund of the teachers. And that his last statement, he had 600,000 cedis to his credit. So that this year, actually, December, he's retiring. And imagine a school teacher retiring and therefore on the old Senate getting a minimum of 80% of his salary, even if he takes a lump sum, and still having about 600,000. These are the type of people I'm targeting. The ordinary worker, the middle class. You can become wealthy over time without succumbing to the Ghanaian disease of corruption. And today, I want to deal with the first principle when you are going to be on your way to creating wealth. And the title is Wealth Creation Mindset. Wealth Creation Mindset. In other words, I'm talking about your attitude, your vision, how your worldview when it comes to wealth creation. In other words, the type of attitude that positions you favorably to start and to continue building wealth. And I'm hoping that at the end of our short session, you'll be fired enough, your mind will have been changed, and you will have gotten out of the poverty mentality as if, some people are consigned to be poor for life. In so doing, let me say that there are two things we must drop in terms of our mindset and our worldview before we can imbibe the positive attitude and mindset that will make us wealthy. First, traditionally, many Ghanaians have bought into the idea that only a few people are destined to be rich. In other words, you may have a political connection, have a political post, or get a plum civil public service position like working in GRA, then you are well positioned. And therefore, they feel that they cannot make it unless they use devious means or somebody becomes their helper. Worse still, in that state, whatever they get also is consumed because they have a short-term mentality. In fact, I get a bit alarmed when I see the rate at which event centers are springing up in Accra because of our high level conviviality. In other words, we almost work to spend on funerals, on weddings, on beds. There's nothing wrong in blessing your soul occasionally, but that type of attitude make people poor, and that for life. In fact, sad to say, some Ghanaians even think that you have to get what we call sikadro. There are some sort of sorcery or magical way in which you go. I don't know why my in-laws in Zima, the Zimas and Ashantis are in-laws. So traditionally, we never fought. When you saw an Ashanti and an Zima really trading apparent insults, and you don't think that they are fighting. They are brother and sister, and they have this jovial relationship. But we used to say, if you want to be rich, there is some sort of witchcraft in Zima. And I said, but the Zimas are like me. They are not richer than us. So this idea of sorcery, it's not the way to become rich. And unfortunately, the young people have resorted to Sakawa, 419, and eventually they may benefit shortly, but they die early, because that is not the way for a national wealth creation. And of course, when they think that you are going to get rich through lottery, you are going to be addicted, and eventually, whether the tax has been removed or not, it is not the way. The way is wealth creation. So the first thing is that we must get rid of our unproductive mindset so that we can go forward and to really imbibe the type of worldview and mindset. I worked for 6.5 years with the UN in New York. And one thing I admired about the American is their so-called American dream. Everybody thinks that he will make it. He will marry, have 2 children. I don't know why they zeroed in on 2 children, have their nice car or 2 suburban house. In other words, their whole thinking is positive. And someone has written the book, The Millionaire Next Door. The average American, by the time they retire, through their savings and investment in their personal pensions, end up dollar millionaire. Before I pass on to this, we must get rid of this idea that blamania, you blame the government, you blame your employer, you blame everybody. Yes, we are entitled, the worker deserves his wages, but very few people, less than 0.01, that's 1%, will ever get rich through wages and salary. It's what they do with it which will be showing you through savings and investment and allowing compound interest to work for them. Before I leave this negative attitude which we must banish, let me also mention that there are some religious dimensions, and no matter when you have the wrong attitude, no matter how much religious cloak you put on it, it's not going to help you. Let me say some few ones that unfortunately I wouldn't have time to expand on them, and some of my religious people will be angry with me, but I hope it would let them go and search the scriptures and find the whole counsel of God. The idea of sow a seed, it's not scriptural. There's nothing in the Bible which even calls the tithe the seed. The tithe is meant to support God's work and the church. However, the tithe is not the seed. Rather, if you go to Malachi 3, it says that if you are faithful in the tithe and not robbing God, God will bless the work of your hands. He will bless your field, your cattle, and others, so that in addition to what you have brought to the church, you must go and save and invest and get things that God can bless because you have been faithful to Him. Other than that, the only people who get blessed on your tithe are the ecclesiastical community. Then there are name it and claim it. Even some people think that holiness, poverty is holiness. And they will quote, blessed are the poor in spirit. It has nothing to do with poverty in the pocket. It has to do with being humble to acknowledge your sins so that you run to Jesus Christ and be saved. Of course, 1 Timothy 6:10, that, the love for money is a root cause for all kinds of evil. It's not talking about money is a root cause, but the love for it. When you allow the pursuit of money to be the object of your life, you are on the wrong track. Sikanya moja. Somebody says that if you think poverty is good, try riches. Unless we purge ourselves of such tendencies, we are handicapped. Again, let me talk about a very recent phenomena. We, as a country, as an economy, we have gone through one in a century hardship of the domestic debt exchange program. And wealth has been destroyed over a short period, and many people are losing confidence even to save and invest. We will talk about that. It has to do with the type of vehicles you will use. And in any case, the accounts have a saying, say, "Nsio fa oba, unya nsio num." When your child gets drowned, you don't stop drinking water. There's no way we are going to make it as ordinary guys, workers, if we are not going to look to savings, investment, mutual funds, and multiplying it over time. So when we get there, where to invest and other things, we will take these things up. You can't say that you don't trust the market, and therefore you will not go there. Put your money under your bed, inflation will chop it, and eventually you'll be miserable when you need help. For the doubting Thomases, let me recall again quickly what I said in launching my Millionaires Club, because before I zero in within the next 10 minutes on positive thinking and growth mindset. If you're a doubting Thomas and you think that your situation is such that there's no hope, please, I want to encourage you. We will be having a session on, even if you are unemployed today, how you can start getting some income through creative self-employment, because there are so many things you can do, and I'll be sharing with you things you can start today with not more than 100 Ghana cedis, and depending upon how you persist, you are on your way to creating wealth. But for now, let me remind you what I said. Only 100 Ghana cedis invested in any instrument like personal pension, mutual fund, whatever, and you get an average of 17.5% per annum. You become a millionaire in 30 years. Are you telling me that you don't fall into that category of 100 Ghana cedis a month? Check how many Coke or wache you have eaten, and oftentimes overeating. Second, if you are able, and we are talking about workers who earn, say, 2,000, 3,000, if you're able to up your monthly investment to 300, you will be a millionaire in 23 years. 500, you are a millionaire in 20 years. For the upper income, 1,000, and you are a millionaire in 16 years in Ghana. And I'm using only 17.5%. Let me tell you, start thinking positively, for wealth creation is within your view. Now let me move on to share why you must be thinking positively. Because when you feel defeated, you are defeated. Thinking positively is so important. Believe that wealth is not for the few. Yes, it appears that though maybe not all, but the majority of the people you see as relatively wealthy are too different from you. They are politicians, they are senior civil servants, they are kalabule people cheating in the marketplace. I laugh when I go to the typical market. I see a bunch of plantain, and the lady will say, "This is 50 cedis." I say, "I'll give you 30. Immediately he will lie. No. I bought it even for 40 cedis, and I'm just making 45. And yet, if you insist on 30, he will give it to you. What a shame. You can do better. Positive thinking. First of all, let me say, God created you to be fruitful and multiply. That is, in the material realm, to be wealthy. Please don't think that when God told Adam and Eve, be fruitful and multiply, he was confining it on our principle, even thinking about having children, which probably we have overdone. Since now we have more than 8 billion going to 9 billion population. No. He said, have dominion over the created things. Create wealth. Intellectually, physically, using your hands, your brains to create wealth. So, let me tell you, your potential of creating wealth is enormous. Don't allow your present condition to define your future. It's a shame that I never took a photograph before I was 15 years old, actually getting to 16 in Sevier Teachers College. But I can recall the days when I had my tattered brony well going to farm. I don't know how God gave us this strength of carrying 3 bunches of plantain on our head for 3 miles from our farm we call Prekumohu to the roadside. But as somebody wrote on his back of his taxi, no condition is permanent. What he meant is that no condition is permanent. Let me tell you, don't. You are in a position that there are so many things you can do, especially the young people. Virtual assistance, freelancing and editing, selling second-hand items. There are so many things you can do for under 100 Ghana cedis. I won't belabor it now. Go to AI and ask AI, what can I do with not more than 100 Ghana cedis? And you'll be surprised. I did it. So I won't do it for you with my limited time. In my village, and more so in Accra, a construction laborer earns 150 to 200 Ghana cedis a day. And yet their mentality is such that they don't save, they don't invest, and when they lose their job for 1 week, they are as broke as church mouse, because they have this poverty and consumption mentality, not wealth creation mentality. 50 years ago as a nation, our income per capita was higher than many countries India was about $120 per head when we were about 250. I'm talking about the 1950s. We call other people our comparators, like Malaysia. We can't talk about it because at this moment Malaysia has $12,000 per capita. South Korea, our comparator, 36,000, while Ghana is still hovering about a little less than 2,500. Let me tell you, beside productivity is because we have not the positive attitude and work towards it. It is my goal to create in my lifetime 1,000 Ghanaian ordinary millionaires, and we will achieve it. And I want you to sign up to my Millionaires Club. You will find me on YouTube, and then it's not a club you are going to pay me. Thank God you don't have to pay anything, but so that I can encourage you to start creating wealth from today. Enabling worldview and growth mindset is what you need. And I trust that you will be fired by what I'll be going through with you. Financial literacy, because when people become financially literate, then they know they are going to make it. Let me share a personal example. When I was 46 years, I was working with the UN in New York. Despite my high salary, like a typical Ghanaian, I had been schooled in consumption. Beside that, in my case, I spent a lot of money in helping others. For example, it was my aim that any child who passed secondary school, that was the days before free secondary school, I will look after them. Yes, it may sound good, but it was at the expense of my having zero savings, and my credit card debt was increasing. Then I came across a small book called Common Sense by Art Williams. You may Google it and get it, Common Sense. And it shows how this should not be my lifestyle, and that I can save small. The first was to clear my debt. The second is to spend between 10 and 20% of my income investing. And lo and behold, within 6 years, I was not only debt-free, but I had accumulated $150,000. And I said that it is enough. I'm going home to help my country. You don't need to be in New York for that. You can start today with 100 CDs, 50 CDs, but you must have a positive mindset, because without it, there's very little that is going to happen. Let me conclude today by saying that one of the mindset is not only that you can make it, your potential to create wealth is high, but that you are going to determine to discipline yourself, work hard, save, and compound your income over time. And what you need, I like this word, which though it is an English word, the first time I heard it was in America, called GRIT. G-R-I-T. GRIT. What does GRIT stand for? It implies a strong work ethic, perseverance, and determination to achieve long-term goals. Yes, you can. If you have a positive attitude, a mindset which says that wealth creation is not a zero-sum game. When somebody wins, you lose. No, we can all win together. And that you are prepared to pay the price of what it takes: delayed consumption, discipline, hard work, consistent savings and investment. And I can assure you that you will be one of the millionaires of Ghana, no matter how low you are today. So come with me as we continue next week on our journey of making it, and making it righteously, being rich and holy. If you have gotten the right mindset, you will see opportunities and you will come back to them almost everywhere. You will be able to think strategically and make decisions that will help you. Even in times of setback, I'll be talking to some group in Kumasi in a month's time about entrepreneurship in these hard times where many Ghanaians think that there's a setback. You know what? Many opportunities are opening up. Why? Because we can't even soon import things which we are used to. And you must find a way of making money even in these hard times. May God help us to start thinking aright, taking the opportunities around us, having a broad and positive mindset and worldview, and above all, determined, great, that I will make it. This is the mindset I want you to have as we continue, because the technical details of how to do are very easy and we will go through them. What I can help you is that if you have a negative mindset, giving up because of your experience, I'm sorry, you are going to have the worst situation in your life. Meet me again next week. I'll have 4 sessions of these backgrounds before I delve into the specificities. The Lord be with you always, every week. Stephen ADEI, Professor Stephen ADEI on YouTube. In addition, you will find me, you can listen to me on Z101.9 FM. Again, ZFM 101.9. See you and God bless you, because you are destined to be rich and holy. Please don't forget to click the link below so that I will know that you are following, that you can get updates, and I can continually encourage you, because I want you to be rich.